So back in late February, I put together a forecast for March 2025. The signals were there: jet stream dips, analog years, moisture patterns. It looked like we could be in for a pretty active start to tornado season. But now that March has come and gone, the question is, how close did that forecast come to reality? Let's walk through it: what verified, what didn't, and what we can take from it as we head deeper into spring. When I issued this outlook on February 23rd, La Nina was on its way out. Not completely gone yet, but weakening. That alone can stir up some early season activity. I was also watching the MJO, which was sliding through phases 6, 7, and 8. Those tend to be favorable for severe weather in the south. And when I compared all that to past analog years like 2008 and 2012, a pattern started forming. One that suggested an active March, especially across the deep south and parts of the Midwest. Based on that, I outlined 3 zones: a pink core risk over Mississippi, Alabama, and Tennessee, a red enhanced zone through Dixie Alley and into the Midwest, and a broader yellow zone from the plains to the Carolinas, where things could tip either way depending on how patterns evolved. And then came March. It didn't waste time. Roughly 300 tornadoes were confirmed across the US, a huge jump from what we typically see this time of year. Let's talk about the standout days. March 14th, a monster day with 104 tornadoes, and 17 of those were EF2 or stronger. March 15th followed with 87 tornadoes, 12 of them significant. And then March 30th wrapped up things with 51 tornadoes, 7 of those hitting EF2 strength or above. The lower Midwest lit up Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana. And down south states like Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia were hit hard. Those were classic setups: strong shortwaves, rich Gulf moisture, and plenty of shear to go around. Not just tornadoes either. Many of these impacts packed widespread damaging wind and hail. So how did the forecast hold up? Actually, pretty well. The broad pattern played out just as expected, and most of the activity stayed inside the forecast zones. The red and yellow areas saw widespread severe weather. The pink core zone, it was a little quieter than anticipated, especially across northern Mississippi and Alabama. But just to the north and west, extremely active. Carolina Alley stayed mostly quiet. Looking back, that was likely due to a lack of upper level support. No real jet streaks to drive things eastward. Every forecast has its stronger and weaker spots, but in terms of big picture accuracy, this one landed pretty close to target. I like to step back after each outlook and just assess how well did it hold up. Here's how I'd grade March. Pattern recognition, a 9 out of 10. The setup was clear and it showed up. Regional accuracy, a 7. Most zones verified, though some quieter areas lowered the score. Impact anticipation, 9 again. The big days, March 14th, 15th, and 30th lined up well with what we expected. Mesoscale awareness, a 7. This is always the trickiest part. Some fine scale boundaries and instability issues led to local busts. All in all, I call this forecast an 8 out of 10. Storm recognition of the pattern, good timing, and solid coverage of the high-risk areas. If there's one takeaway from March, it's that the big picture signals matter. The transition out of La Nina, active MJO, jet support, they all pointed towards increased severe weather, and they delivered. Was it perfect? No. But most of the activity landed right where the forecast said it could. That's always the goal: inform, prepare, and adjust as the pattern evolves. If you're curious about what's ahead, the April Tornado Outlook is already live on the channel. In that one, I dive into how the risk zones are shifting as spring ramps up. I'll also have more real-time breakdowns as severe events unfold, so stay tuned for that. If you found this recap helpful, consider giving it a like or sharing it with others who follow the weather. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Did your area get hit in March? What stood out to you the most? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next Outlook.